most of the time, when the game or contest is over, we know who won. We often argue about how the winner did it, whether the winner should have done it, whether the rules were followed, and so on. But when the game is over, we know who the winner was, whether we like it or not, most of the time. There are games and contests where the end of the game is not the end of the argument about who actually won, and that's often due to the scoring system. A Toastmaster speech contests are an example of this. This evening, for Connect with Your Audience, one of the required Level 2 projects in the Engaging Humor Path, Lloyd Smith will describe the scoring system used in our contests and how it is commonly misunderstood. Lloyd Smith, with his speech, what's a borda?
Thank you, Eric. I've had odd experiences in Toastmaster speech contests many, many times, but two of the oddest were the two times that I finished second at the District International Speech Contest. After each one of those, 3 different judges came up to me, told me they had just judged, told me that they had rated me first, and advised me to file a protest because I had finished second in the contest. I explained to them that there were several things they might want to think about. One of them was there's a rule against the judges revealing that they judge, and definitely a rule against them telling anybody how they judge. And besides, you can't protest the results of a contest anyway. I think the reason that they were so agitated is that they didn't understand how the contests are judged. And our speech contests are judged according to something called a modified Borda system, and it actually has application to the real world, which is why I'm talking about it tonight. But if you think about it, there are 2 basic ways you can judge a game or a contest. One of them is the way that a basketball game is judged. You just count the number of times the ball went into each of the hoops, and whichever team had the most times wins. 100-yard dash is a similar thing. You just look at the finish line. Whoever goes across the line first wins. There's no discussion about that. Speech contests and similar things are different because they're not first past the post is what that means. You can't just count something or look at something and see who won. So there has to be a different kind of system. And for Toastmasters, we use what's called a modified Borda count. Now, I know in here a number of you have judged speech contests. Several of you have actually run them. And pretty soon Mary's going to be putting the arm on people for our area speech contest coming up for judging. But what you did when you were judging is not necessarily related to how the contests were scored. Now, there's a judge's ballot. This one's for the International Speech Contest, but it's pretty much the same for all of them. And as you judge, you're expected to break down the speech according to constituent parts: speech development, effectiveness, voice, manner, a bunch of other stuff. Then at the bottom, there's an area where you put down the person you thought was first place based on the points you awarded, second place, and third place. You tear that part off, you hand it in, and it looks like it's done. Well, what happens to those numbers after they're turned in? Let's look at a couple of examples. Now, we're talking about something called a modified Borda count, named after a French mathematician and political scientist who was writing in the 1770s. Jean-Baptiste Borda, I think was the guy's name. And he explained, this is translated, of course, says in a modified Borda count, the number of points given for a voter's first and subsequent preferences is determined by the total number of options they are to rank, rather than the total number listed. Yeah. This is to say, typically on a ballot of n options, if a voter casts m preferences where n is greater than or equal to m, which is greater than or equal to 1, a first preference gets m points, a second preference m minus 1 points, and so on. I think that pretty much clears it up. Yeah. But let's look at a practical example. Suppose there's been a contest. District speech contest, we have 5 entries. Okay, speakers 1 through 5. Let's assume that the judges filled out their little ballots the way they're supposed to, and here's how it went. Judge 1 decided speaker 1 was first, speaker 2 was second, speaker 3 was third. Could happen. Judge 2 actually agreed. 1, 2, 3. Judge 3 agreed. 1, 2, 3. Judge 4 thought the same thing. 1, 2, 3. However, Judge 5 did not. He didn't think Speaker 1 placed, so he rated them 2, 3, 1. Judge 6, 2, 3, 1. Judge 7, 2, 3, and 1. Now, when you glance at that, it probably looks to you like Speaker 1 should have won the contest, right? 4 of the 7 judges rated him first. That's not the case because of the point system. Mr. Borden here was talking about. First place gets 3 points, second place gets 2 points, and third place gets 1 point. Okay, so our man Speaker 1 here got a total of 12 points. But Speaker 2 got all of the second place votes, worth 2 each. He gets 14 points. Speaker 3 got a total of 7 points. Third place gets 1 point. Okay? Speaker 4 got 3 points. And Speaker 5 got 6 points. So our winner is Speaker 2, even though he didn't get a single first place vote. Okay? Our second place is Speaker 1. And our third place is Speaker 3. Now that strikes a lot of people as a pretty bizarre result. But if you think about it, what it shows is that there was a consensus in the room. 4 people thought Speaker 1 was the best speaker, but notice every single person thought that Speaker 2 was a close runner-up. So it's the sense of the room, or the consensus in the room that matters. Now that bothers a lot of people. Think about this result, which might be even more bothersome. Speaker 1 gets first place. 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 3, 1, 2. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. 3, 1, 2. It doesn't look like there's any real consensus at all in the room. And that's a real problem because there are trophies to be given out. But if you count up the points, Speaker 1 gets 9 points. Speaker 2 gets 10 points. Speaker 3 gets 11 points. Speaker 4 gets 10 points. Now, the obvious winner is Speaker 3, even though he just got 1 first place vote. But see, everybody, all of the judges thought he was in the top 3, so it's kind of a consensus. What do you do when there's a tie? Well, there's another ballot called the tiebreaker ballot. The person who's got that ballot actually rates them from 1 through 5. And so whichever one of these 2 people was higher ranked on the tiebreaker's ballot gets that place. In other words, he gets 1 vote, and that was enough to get him to win the contest. Now, this applies to the real world because there are elections in various parts of the world that are run exactly this way. In other words, you don't have to choose one or the other candidate. You rank all of the candidates, and they use a preferential system like that and decide who wins. The theory is that you get consensus of who the winner is as opposed to oddball results. We can get oddball results. Most political scientists think that Donald Trump is likely to get 5 to 10 million fewer popular votes in 2020 than whoever he's running against. But he will probably still win in the Electoral College. That's because we don't have a system like this. Anyway, something to think about. If you've ever had a speech contest or get a weird result, could be that. Like at your humorous contest, you could have got 4 first place votes and not got the trophy. Bad. Mr. Coachmaster.
Timer, 1 minute, please.
You got it.
You're off the grid.
Make me.
That's exercising its awesome powers as a general evaluator.